Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'll be very brief. Thank you for staying, and I'll be respectful of your time, and I'll try to be as quick as I can. Ms. Bond, based on non-immigrant visa, but the applicant must go through the full immigration visa screening process. Is that correct?
Yes.
So what kind of screening and test must a K-1 applicant pass?
Okay. Because it is treated like an immigrant visa, in other words, this is an individual that we expect to remain permanently in the United States. And so they get exactly the same security screening as any other traveler to the United States. We don't distinguish between immigrant and non-immigrant in terms of the interagency, security, terrorism, criminal background, all of that review. However, for example, if you are applying for an immigrant visa, you do have to undergo a medical exam. And so someone who's getting a fiancé visa gets that medical exam. If you are applying for an immigrant visa, you have to present a police certificate from any country where you have lived for more than 6 months since you were 16, showing that you didn't have a criminal record in that country.
So that's the background check that you...
That is part of the process for immigrant visas that you wouldn't require if someone's coming in a non-immigrant capacity.
Okay. Was Tashfeen Malik, was she subject to that process as a K-1 visa applicant?
Yes.
She was. So non-immigrant visas, such as those that under the visa waiver program, are they less stringent than a K-1 visa?
If you're applying for a non-immigrant visa, for example, a tourist visa, we do not require you to submit proof that you have a clean criminal record in every country where you've lived.
So your answer would be yes.
Yes.
So a non-immigrant visa, such as those under the visa waiver program, they are less stringent than a K-1 visa.
Right. We asked the question about whether you have any criminal record, but you are not required to prove it.
So we've got 1.6 million overstays in the backlog, 400,000 of which are from the visa waiver program, which is the less stringent program. Correct?
The visa waiver program is not less stringent in terms of the security check that is done than the other visa.
But the background is.
Well, the interagency name check is the same for all of them. But if you're traveling as a non-immigrant, you are normally not required to provide the police certificate, for example. You're not required to undergo a health exam that you would if you were coming in as an immigrant.
Well, I would say that that's less stringent then. Would you not agree?
Yes, I agree that the paperwork that is required, for example, also, if you're coming in as an immigrant, we have to see a certified copy of your birth certificate. If you're coming in as a married couple, we need a certified copy of your marriage certificate. We're not asking for that kind of documentation for non-immigrants. So there are a number of documents that have to be in the file if you are moving permanently to the United States, which we do not require if you are.
Will the gentleman yield?
I yield.
You don't have to actually provide a marriage certificate prior to coming on a K-1 visa, correct?
No, if you're coming on a K-1 visa, you wouldn't have a marriage certificate, but you would have to provide in other words, if you're not married, you don't have to provide a marriage certificate. However, you would have to provide, suppose you're someone who has been married before, we would need a certified copy of the divorce decree. No, you just
suggested that, if I heard it right, that you had suggested that they had to. Anyway, I just wanted to clarify, because in the case of San Bernardino, that's how she got here, was claiming that she would get married. It looks like she did get married based on records that I've seen. But I just wanted to clarify that for.
Okay, but what I was saying was, if you were a married couple coming to the United States on immigrant visas, we would need to see your marriage certificate. I wasn't talking about a fiancé. Although, again, if she were previously married, or if the petitioner is previously married, we have to see, or USCIS has to see, the certified copy of the death certificate or the divorce decree that ended the previous marriage.
Yield back.
So we've got almost 400,000 immigrants who are under this visa waiver program who are on backlog, as we understand it, through a system that you're telling me is perhaps less stringent than what we would require out of others. And I'm just disturbed by that. You can understand where my concern is, especially in light of the recent events that we've experienced here on our homeland. Mr. Chairman, I yield back.
Thank you.